Hello, this is your Commodore, Ty Coles speaking, and I'm going to give you your review for Star Trek Discovery, Season 2, Episode 1, Brother. And oh, brother. The best way I can sum this episode up is meh. Pretty simple, meh. Which is a high praise for Star Trek Discovery, which is known for complete garbage. So we start off with a recap of the first season, which is like, wow, we really want to remember the crap that was in the first season. With Michael Burnham giving her, with just highlights of how no matter what Burnham did, she was right. It's like, ugh. Then we have this old NASA footage with Michael Burnham's voiceover, space, the final friend. It's above us, within us. I'm like, no. We look to ourselves to find what's in us. We go to space, this is fine. To boldly go where no person has gone before. To explore strange new worlds and civilizations, not to go find yourself. So, of course, right off the hop, Star Trek Discovery makes it about Burnham. And then, so we get that. Then we get her telling us this legend, African legend, about how the galaxy was formed. And already, it's basically saying that the galaxy was formed for Michael Burnham to save. Which is just cringeworthy. Then we go to Vulcan with luscious cherry trees and cherry blossoms blowing in the wind like it's American Beauty. To my recollection, and I know my Star Trek, I've been watching it since I was born pretty much. Vulcan's a desert planet. Even J.J. Abrams in his Kelvin timeline made Vulcan a desert planet. Then we see Sarek walking young Michael Burnham to his house. And like, how are Vulcan houses so empty? Like, they got nothing. I know they're logical people and don't show their emotions, but still, like, where's the furniture? Where's anything? Where's their computers? Where's the Vulcan artwork? Where's any sign of their culture whatsoever? It's a blank room. And then we have Sarek, Michael Burnham introduced to Amanda. But we're introduced to Spock. And already, you know it's going to go downhill. They're going to butcher this character. Like, we see, Spock looks like the kid from The Omen in this. And you know it's just going to go downhill from here. So they walk up this, like, very narrow hallway to Spock's room. Again, showing the emptiness. It's like, where is he going to sleep? Like, all you see is his little laptop and a set of 3D chess. And he's working on something in his room with technology that should not exist prior to Kirk. Hell, some of this technology doesn't even exist in the 24th century around with Picard's time. So he's drawing something, and then he throws this light bright set kit into the air and creates a dragon. Not the best looking CG possible. Shows you the constraints of their budget. But, the best you can say is, it did have a funny moment, but it hurt Spock by him slamming the door on Michael Burnham. And then we cut to present day. So we have the present day, and they're trying to figure out what's happening to the Enterprise. They say life support's still available, and there's 203 life forms on board, which we'll find out is incorrect by the end of the show. Because you hear Michael Burnham saying, well, everyone's alive. Still alive. The whole crew's still there. And so they can't really get a hold of him because of garbled communications. Like, they can send out some stuff, but it's not fully functioning, so you can't do voice or hail them or do a normal chant. So Tilly blurts out, use Morse code. Most people were upset about this. I feel like I'm okay with that situation because there have been times where they have used alternate means to get a hold of a ship. Like in Star Trek Next Generations, where they use, where Riker on the Ferengi ship uses the warp nacelle echo, like the staticness coming from the warp nacelle, warp field, to give a message to the Enterprise. They did use Morse code in like the original Star Trek, and they bring it up quite a bit, so they know the idea of Morse code. So it's not like it's an obscene thing that they were saying. It just, in the whole context-wise, it just didn't make 100% sense. But it's Star Trek Discovery. It's there to screw everyone over. Every Trek fan over. So we hear back from the Enterprise saying Captain Pike, an engineer, and a science officer is coming back. Burnham and Sarek look at each other and it's like, we never expect to see Spock again. It's and everyone's agree. I agree with other people's like Nerdrotic, Anti-Trekker, Doomcock on this Mecharandom. I agree 100%. This scene shows you that Sarek cares more about Burnham than his own son. So the butchering of Spock's character continues. And he hasn't even said a single line of dialogue yet. So we see them go, Saru and Burnham go to the transporter room. Well, at least we get one good shot of the Enterprise, which makes it look reasonably like the TOS. It's still not the TOS that we all know, a design of the Enterprise that we know and love. But it's the closest we came to it looking good, like TOS style. And we get probably one of the worst ever shots of the exterior of Discovery. As we then follow Saru and Burnham. Saru talks about his sister that we learned about in The Brightest Star short track. Don't get me started on the short tracks, please. Don't get me started on the short tracks. He's telling her that there's boundaries. Yeah, it's called the Prime Directive. He's no longer allowed to go to his home world anymore. And then Michael said, I know the feeling. Bullshit. No, you could give Spock a subspace message at any goddamn time. You can take some freaking leave and go visit him on the Enterprise. You can go make plans to see the guy. You can contact him, no problem. So don't tell me you have the same fucking problems as Saru. Then we also have what is the precursor to the visor with our transporter chief, and it looks more advanced than the 24th century visor. People, dude, the writers forget this was based 10 years before Kirk. But God, stop showing us technology that was made that we might have seen in the 24th century. It's the 23rd. So they beam Pike, his engineer, which ends up being a Benzite. No, a Barzan. Which I'm okay with. And the science officer. And like Doomcock pointed out in his review, I highly suggest you watch it because it's going to be even more laced than mine about how bad Discovery is. And the transporter beams them, even though that they're all beaming in at the same time, it sporadically beams them in. I'm like, okay, when in any other episode of Star Trek did they, when you have a group of people, they reappear not simultaneously? I know we had to do it for an effect to keep suspense on who's the science officer. Surprise, it wasn't Spock. So they do that. And what comes next is just a heaping pile of crap. We have Pike saying he's on board to take command of the Discovery, blah, 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 using Regulation 19. Saru's like, well, we didn't get orders from Starfleet, blah, blah. And Pike's like, well, I want it delivered personally, and da-da-da-da-da. And talks about these red bursts that have been appearing, which we've all, if you've watched any of the trailers, we all know about. So you see that. And then they're walking down the halls, still chatting. Connolly, the science officer, starts describing what's happening. And every time they go scan it, the arrow goes haywire. The compass goes, like, and Burnham's like on the North Pole. And instead of defending his own crewman, Pike insults his own crewman and agrees with Burnham. Are you fucking serious? If someone said something negative to like one of Picard's staff or Kirk's staff or Cisco's staff, they would have got a tongue lashing by them. They would have been put in their place. But no, because it's Michael Burnham, she can do anything. So we get to that, and more chit chat between. It makes you feel like, looking back at it, also, this character of Pike wasn't the Jeffrey Hunter's version of Pike. And going by Prime Universe, this is a wary man.
You bet I'm tired. You bet. I'm tired of being responsible for 203 lives, and I'm tired of deciding which mission is too risky and which isn't, and who's going on the landing party and who doesn't, and who lives, and who dies. Oh, I've had it, Phil.
To the point of finally taking my advice, arrest leave.
To the point of considering resigning.
So we have that scene where, again, you have to make Burnham look great and make the white guy look bad. And I feel like the science officer, Lieutenant Connolly, is there. Discovery's using him to represent the Star Trek fan base. And proving that no matter how smart you are, what argument you have, Michael Burnham is the best. And I feel like that's how Discovery's sending us a message saying, you must love Michael Burnham no matter what. And then we see the turbo lift, and it's like, my God, it's like a star base inside. You thought the brewery looking like beers, the steel mill looking engineering section into J.J. Abrams was bad. Holy crap. And then Pike's trying to give some orders, and Saru's like, no, because of the war, we can't accept command without a DNA test. And they do a DNA test by scanning your hand. Okay, maybe to get the DNA skin samples, like the DNA off your skin. But still, it looked more like testing your fingerprints than DNA. Right? And you had to do it in front of the entire bridge crew? Okay. So, Pike says why he's there and looks forward to doing it. So, he proceeds, takes his seat in the commander's chair, and goes to Warp 5 and does it. And of course, we have the same bloody warp effects that we had in the J.J. Abrams films, which is very similar to the hyperspace in Star Wars, showing that they don't know jack shit about Star Trek with Kurtzman at the helm. So they go, and people, this was an argument that was brought up. It's like, how did they not detect this large debris field while at warp? People say, how can they do scanning if they're like, then they would be always running into things. Yes, they should be able to scan at warp, but if it's a high enough gravitational field, it will affect the sensors. Look at Star Trek The Next Generation Relics. So,
there are no stars or other stellar bodies listed on our navigational charts. However, sensors indicate the presence of an extremely strong gravitational source in this vicinity.
Can you localize the source of the gravitational field?
Sensors? I'm having difficulty scanning the object. It appears to be approximately 200 million kilometers in diameter.
That's nearly as large as the Earth's orbit around the sun. Why didn't we detect this before now?
The object's enormous mass is causing a great deal of gravimetric interference. That might have prevented our sensors from detecting it before we dropped out of warp.
So, and they did say this has an incredibly strong gravitational forces debris field. Especially when they entered the debris field, it just increased. But then you have one of the worst. I felt like this line was funny, but still cringeworthy at the same time. You have Captain Pike saying, "Where's my damn red thing? Where's my red thing? Where's my damn red thing? There should be a red thing." And then to get closer looks at the asteroids and stuff in the debris field, they use telescopic cameras. Not sensors, not long-range sensors, nothing. Cameras. Literally, telescopic cameras. when the hell did Starfleet starships have cameras? Maybe they did, because we do see footage of the outside of the ship when they do a like back in Star Trek 4. But still. And Pike calls for yellow alert. And if you were paying attention and you saw the little yellow alert logo on the window, not the view screen, the window, you would notice that it's the same design as the alert in the motion picture movies, which I felt like was a good Easter egg, and at least gave us Trek fans something that resembles Star Trek. And the alarm did sound like, and when it did hit the gravitational field, it did sound like the proper red alert. But I feel like it should not have been the TMP era alert logo, like design. It should have just been the straight blocks that we see in TOS. Because hell, this is supposed to take part 10 years before Kirk and Spock's 5-year mission. And then they realize there's a ship in distress. There's a Starfleet ship. And another little tidbit, I believe, because when they punched it up in the background, what the ship should look like, it looked like the mining freighter in the game Star Trek Armada and Star Trek Armada 2. It looked like the Federation mining freighter. They called it a medical ship, I believe. But it had a very similar design. I really appreciated it. I believe it looked like it. I enjoyed it. But again, who knows when this design came up. But if you know anything about the Star Trek Armada games, it takes place in the late 24th century. So, it's nice to see a ship that some fans might recognize, especially if you played the games. But, again, wrong bloody era. Unless this was like a Miranda class style, which would last 100+ years. But we aren't given a concrete evidence of this. So, because of the gravimetric interference, they can't use the transporters to go down there. And it's unsafe to drive a shuttle. So they use a new kind of craft. Like, really? Do we need to introduce another type of craft in Star Trek? The landing pods. Really? The landing pods? So you have Pike, he's Barzan engineer, science officer Connolly, and Burnham. Well, the three of them with Pike, that came over with Pike, are wearing their correct uniforms to signify what division they're in. Pike's in gold for command. Barzan's in red for engineering, and Connolly is in blue for sciences. But no, Michael Burnham has to have a special one. She has to be silver or white, so she stands out in crowd because she's pure. She's amazing. She's the best thing that ever fucking happened to Star. Oh god, why? So they go get these. It looks like a freaking aircraft carrier area, landing zone in the Discovery. And Pike turns to her, He's like, have you ever, believe it was Pike. It was one of them that turned to Burnham and said, have you ever flown one of these? And she's like, I was a test pilot. One of the test pilots. I'm like, so you helped design these? So great. I had another freaking thing that Michael Burnham's the best at. Holy crap. Oh. Of course, this whole bloody episode so far has been Michael Burnham's the best. Even when you had Christopher Pike give her a tongue lashing for opening her mouth out of turn, thinking that the rest of the Discovery was going to leave that woman, that crewman, behind. But no, Michael Burnham had to be like, well, if you didn't interrupt me. I'm like, oh. One of the worst things. So we had this on top of it, is her now being one of the test pilots. First test pilot. And honestly, when you hear them go out, you honestly automatically think pod racing from Star Wars 1. Okay, blood pressure's still under control. So they're on automatic and they're going loop-de-loop and like all this craziness. And some people say this is the best, like the shills were saying, this is the best action scene ever in Star Trek. Star Trek was not made to be that action. It's supposed to be based on characters and storylines. If you want to watch action, watch another sci-fi series. Star Trek is about exploration, the character development, the story, not action. Yes, there is action in Star Trek, but it was never the main focus. It was always the story before the action. So we do this, and they realize the computer system on these landing pods can't handle flying in this situation. So Burnham's like, switch to manual. And then you have the red shirt going, manual? I'm like, oh my god, that line was cringe-worthy. It wasn't even funny. That was just pure cringe-worthy. And then you have Connolly, who I think is representative of the Trek fans because they treat him with nothing but disrespect. Like you have Pike insult him, you have him sneezed on, and just basically talked down to by everyone. He's like, well, I know, and he's in the middle of a speech saying, oh, I know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. I can do this, no worries. And boom, he's killed. Oh, so that's where I feel like this is just Star Trek Discovery trying to say to the fans, it's like, if you're not liking this, you're dead to us. So then we see Pike's pod start to break up, and Saru is like, let me run a manual diagnostic. And he's like, no, it's dead. Well, it's dead, of course. So I thought that was a good line. And then you have Michael Burnham trying to save the day. And so Pike's trying to eject, and his suit malfunctions. Right? The shield on his mask won't go. His thruster pack is out. And Burnham's like, again, being Burnham and perfect, is like, let me save you. And Pike gave her a direct order. He's like, no, proceed with the mission. And then she goes to lecture him and like, well, we stick together and Like, you gotta trust us. You gotta trust us. So they finally get down there, and we see this droid. It looks like a freaking droid. And it's with they say it has like Starfleet technology on it, but I've never seen Starfleet technology that looks like what this droid looks like. And clearly they can see every single part of this, see what parts this machine was made of without using a tricorder. So this is when they go down the tube that looks like a scene from Alien, and they meet the new cast member, that female comedian engineer character, and she's not only an engineer, she became a surgeon by just reading a book. So we have some dialogue back and forth with her, and they say the shills are saying it's her deadpan delivery that's so funny. She's so funny with her deadpan. Like, no, it just came out boring. And when you see almost every scene of it in the trailers, it doesn't really make it worth anything. So, and then they try to rescue him because the asteroid that they're on is about to disintegrate and break apart. So, instead, they set up the enhancers, but instead of using the enhancers, Michael Burnham managed to get the transporter working on this ship. And she's like, you have the engineer saying, where were you 10 months ago? It's like, oh my God, stop with making Michael Burnham the one that can figure everything out. Stop it! Stop it! Please, for the love of God, stop it! How are we supposed to connect with a character if they have no flaws? Human beings have flaws! And, you're saying, I'm only saying this because she's a woman. No, I like powerful, strong women in shows. Like, Major Kira, great female character. Uhura, great female character. Whoopi's Guinan, great female character. Janeway, very good when properly written. 7 of 9, good writing. Good written character. But no, they have to make Mikey Spock perfect. No, you don't. Kirk was not perfect. Spock was not perfect. McCoy was not perfect. Picard was not perfect. Sisko was not perfect. Kira was not perfect. Jadzia was not perfect. They all had flaws. And you don't see any Star Trek fans insulting Kira for being the first officer of Deep Space Nine. No one really... Even T'Pol was more of an entertaining character. Okay, calm down, calm down. So, they managed to rescue everyone, but Michael Burnham. So she's about, and just as she's standing there with the planet, the asteroid getting destroyed and all this, the Red Angel appears. And of course, if you listen to the VO, it only appears to people with open minds and true hearts and all that crap. So, of course, it had to be Michael Burnham that saw the Red Angel. So, we go back to Discovery. And she's in sickbay and all this stuff. And they're trying to figure out what's causing all this gravimetrical thing. Because she was supposed to bring up some rock. But the transporter didn't take the rock with her. So they decide to set up a gravitational unit in the shuttle bay or whatever the hell they call it. And basically have a rock hit the backside of Discovery. Wish it would have just destroyed Discovery. It ended this torture for all of us. But then we get one of those many lines that were shown in the trailer. This is the power of math! God almighty. And then, near the end, we see the Enterprise getting towed away to Space Dock because it seems to have had more damage than what was initially thought. So instead of overseeing your ship's problems, Pike decides to stay on Discovery and chase his red thing. And Burnham's like, can I go see Spock? Pike was like, no, Spock asked for leave. But hold on a second. Didn't Michael Burnham say at the beginning of the goddamn show that all 203 members of the crew were there? She said the Enterprise had a full complement. So what? It missed the one Vulcan that was not there? But she goes over there anyway, and you see a glimpse of the interior, and it's no way, no hell, the interior of the Enterprise. It does not look like the Enterprise, period. It's not. And maybe that's why they tried to show as little as possible of the Enterprise, because they know they would set the Trek world, the Trek nerds, into a frenzy. So she goes into Spock's quarters, and we see the Vulcan harp there. But also, we see the bell setup that was used for the Pon farr ceremony. So Burnham's looking around, and then you see this very close-up of Burnham looking at those bells.
I'm discouraged you did not embrace the lesson.
Father, I am confident that empathy is very real for Spock.
I'm here the missing notes, Michael. There is something about your relationship you're not sharing. It weighs on you.
And earlier in the show, they did lead to speculation that there was something between Spock and Michael. Because Michael said to Sarek that at first Spock was okay with her, and then something happened, and their relationship soured. And guess what it probably was? Spock was suffering from Pon farr and mated with Burnham. Many fans are speculating that this is just enforcing it. So, then she listens to Spock's personal log entries. Why are the personal log entries open to anyone that can listen to them? Aren't they personal for a reason? That they're not on record? But it's Burnham. She can do whatever she wants, because it's the right way, even though it's not. So, we finally hear Spock's voice. And, lo and behold, it does sound good. It sounds alright. And so we stopped with that. And overall, like I said at the beginning, a meh episode. They changed the intro a bit. Still looks like crap. Pike's okay, but it's not the weary Pike that thinks about his crew and muddles over every decision. Burnham's still perfect. They're doubling down on that. Even though they say they would try to make it more of an ensemble crew. Oh wow, we had a roll call. Big whoop. They still had almost no lines of dialogue. Still don't know their names. Because just hearing the name once doesn't make them, oh, we know so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. No. To build a relationship with these other cast members, you gotta hear them talk and hear their names on multiple occasions, not just like one line of dialogue per episode. Hell, background people have more dialogue sometimes. So overall, it's an improvement of season 1, but that's not saying much. Saying you're better, like, polishing a turd is still a turd. And soon we're going to get episode 2. Honestly, I don't know how much more of Discovery I can take, but I'll try to give a review of each episode of season 2. And hopefully that will be the final season of this horrendous show. So, for your Commodore Ty, live long and prosper, Trek fans, and I'll see you again. Hailing frequencies closed.